The Right on Point podcast is a candid discussion of your legal rights, civil liberty ramifications, legalities of possible mandates of COVID vaccines, and actions by our federal government and state governments. Plus exploring the untouchable topics within the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, the PrEP Act, and the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program. Welcome to the Right on Point podcast with Wayne Rohde.
Thank you for being here today again with us on the Right on Point podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Rohde. Ben Smith is from Backwoods Media is my video editor, and he's going to have a lot of work to do. I promise you. I've got a few things that I'll probably get tongue-tied on. So thank you, Ben, for being there. On the show today, we're going to talk about censorship. And what we're really about is what we're seeing from big tech, what we're seeing from our government in regards to censorship. It wasn't something that was on most people's radar prior to COVID. Yes, it was a little bit on some things, but it's really come forefront and become a very, I wouldn't say popular or unpopular topic to discuss, especially on the family dinner table. Many have heard from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Del Bigtree, and a few others, Dr. McCullough, in regards to how big tech deplatformed them, censored them. Many people on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter would have their posts either deleted or they would be put into Twitter jail for 7 days. I'm a repeat offender. I've been into Twitter jail maybe a dozen times. It's no fun, but that's what it is. But there's another form of censorship that I want to talk about, and I think it's more sinister, it's more corrupt, and that is the form of censorship by our government, mainly our federal government towards individuals. You've heard of doctors and grassroots advocates, but one of the ones that really concerns me is the censorship towards those who have been injured from the COVID vaccine or countermeasures. And here today is Susanna Newell. She's a friend of the program. I know her personally. And also, she represents Team Humanity. We're going to have to put that out there. The big purple, Team Humanity, and her attorney in the recent lawsuit, Casey Norman, who's out of Washington, D.C., from the New Civil Liberties Alliance. This is really a wonderful organization. I'm going to ask a little bit about that too, because it's fascinating in regards to other lawsuits that they're bringing. The lawsuit I'm talking about was filed in May 22nd, Southern District of Texas, down there in Galveston. I know that well. I know that area well. I went to school down in Texas, and I know that federal court building. The name of the lawsuit is Dressen versus Flaherty. And Flaherty was an advisor to Biden. I guess that they take the top names from each plaintiff and defendant, and that's how they name the lawsuit. But there's a group of 5 or 6 individuals. Susanna is one of them. Ernest Ramirez, many of you know her. Bree Dressen, who happens to be co-founder of React 19. Nikki Holland, Sean Barkavage, I should say, and Christy Dobbs have filed a suit against President Joe Biden and his administration for violating the plaintiff's right to free speech and the right to peaceful assembly. Susanna and Casey, welcome to the program. Now, I hope you're all doing well. And I want to, before we get into the specifics of the plaintiff here today, Counselor, okay, Casey, did I summarize the lawsuit correctly?
Yeah, that was an excellent introduction, and thank you for having me on the show. If you want a little bit more detail on the lawsuit, I'm happy to provide that.
Right. Well, for what I understand, when you filed it, isn't there like a 90-day period where before you got to go through appearance to a magistrate judge for a first appearance? Where do we sit with the lawsuit, or where do you sit with the lawsuit, and what are the next steps?
So right now, first step was service. We have to make sure that all of the federal government agencies and officials were served with the complaint and know about it. But we have been scheduled for this initial conference that you just mentioned with the magistrate judge, and that's going to be happening on, I believe, August 21st down in Galveston. So then, all the parties are going to appear. We're going to discuss whether it's the proper venue, that kind of thing. And then probably the next step will be a motion to dismiss filed by the government defendants. And we'll have to, get prepared in responding to that.
When with that motion, we do anticipate, I'm saying we as a large community that's very concerned about what's happening to people. That motion to dismiss, will that come prior to August 21st, or will it have to wait till afterwards?
It
and
could.
Then
yeah. Could? Yeah, I don't have a sense yet of timing because we haven't received all of our slips of service from all the defendants. I think there are 18 in total. But yeah, really between now and the next few months, we'll likely be receiving that from them.
Okay. Southern District of Texas, Galveston, that's also where a previous lawsuit that many people are aware of, the Brooke Jackson lawsuit, was filed in. So that's a busy court down there, very prominent for all of us. Susanna, I'm not going to trip you up on any gotcha questions, but why you, as one of the plaintiffs, what happened, or how did it affect you as an individual?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, Ernest may be joining us. I just texted him the link. I think he's going to hop on. I really feel like it could be anyone. I just happen to be, one of the six. We are representing a very, very large community of injured people who were censored. It's much bigger than the six of us. We are looking to be the representatives to ensure that as time marches on, those of us who were injured, who were isolated, basically have a community that we can rely on and depend on as we're going through our major life changes. So for me specifically, I was a user of Facebook, or actually had kind of gotten off it and then went back on it and found so many other people like me having issues, and they were a lifeline, like literally a lifeline. The things that were happening were very scary. As you know, I spent several days at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and it was obvious that they didn't know exactly, what to do with me. So we started relying on each other. And when that got shut down and censored, and my own friends who've known me for years were saying, hey, your posts are getting flagged, I felt like a criminal. And, I'm lucky in that I have a really strong support network with my family and friends. But for those people who don't, and even if you have a strong support network, what is going on with you specifically is so hard. We need, as human beings, we need community to survive. And and when your body is not functioning, and with the pandemic, we couldn't really go out and be in the community. So these were our lifelines, these support groups online. And many of the support groups are closed support groups. And when I'm telling my story to my Facebook friends, I'm only telling it to the people who are my Facebook friends. So just the censorship there is incredibly isolating. Isolation leads to trauma and ultimately, in a number of us, suicide. And that is the opposite of what we should be doing for a community of people who are struggling. And so it just breaks my heart. And again, I'm super lucky. This has been an incredibly difficult journey, but to have found other people and to be silenced is something I never would have thought would have happened to me. I really didn't think that could even be a possibility, or to have my friends from college telling me like, hey, your stuff's getting flagged as misinformation. Them knowing that it wasn't misinformation because they knew me, but then questioning that as well. It's like my whole integrity as a human being, and I'm in the middle of trauma. My body's, shutting down, my nerves are damaged, my heart's damaged, and I need support. And I want to find other people like me so that if they're feeling alone, I can support them. So just the fact that being censored leads to something much, much bigger than just, being silenced. It's a huge ripple effect that is crushing and literally fatal for a number of people.
I agree. I mean, you and I met December 12th of 2021. Minus what? Minus 20 degrees out on the steps of the Minnesota Capitol. We were speaking because it was like the 1-year anniversary of the decision to start with the vaccination. And there was an event that evening. Boy, was it cold out there. We're proud Minnesotans, but boy, I tell you what, it was cold standing there for a while, and you were very brave to be there, and you couldn't move around. You were in the wheelchair, and you couldn't move around as much as some of us trying to stomp our feet. So ever since then, I could understand, what happened, and, to you, but to other people. And so we began this bond, and we started having meetings. And you remember the meetings we had over Zoom where, people who had severe reactions to the COVID, and they had questions, and I brought in a couple of attorneys. We had these meetings about legal rights with the countermeasures injury compensation program. And you're correct. And what I've found out is how much you need to connect with other people, because isolation leads to depression, leads to very serious outcomes that are not good. And we need, and you're right, we need to be able to assemble with people. Now, Ernest, you there? Hopefully he's there.
Yes, sir.
Hi there,
Can you
Ernest.
hear me?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for being there. There he is. He's working. He's a working man.
Unfortunately, yeah.
What we're talking about is a lot of people understand your story and what happened to, your son. But regarding this lawsuit, what did happen to you that you wanted to become part of it as far as a named plaintiff? What happened to you to become a lead plaintiff in this case?
Oh, like she was saying, all the censorship, trying to make me feel like I was lying. How could I be lying about something that happened to my son? And with the government not stepping up, not even sending condolences or something like that, rather than do that, they'd rather try to shut me down so I wouldn't speak about what happened to my son. And so, like I said, thankfully, I have thousands of followers. So when I would get censored on a regular basis, every couple of weeks or whenever they let me out, a day or two, they'll knock me back into, they'd kick me off any platform, or they'll put a warning, a flag, misinformation. And my followers would message me, Ernest, you're blocked again. Send us information that you want us to post for you. And so they'd risk getting blocked themselves just to share whatever I wanted to share. I mean, and mainly mostly it was just pictures of my son and how, our trips together, anything. I even had a gentleman that invited me to go meet his group, and he took a picture of me, and he didn't say nothing, but thank you, Mr. Ramirez, for stopping by meeting with us. And it got flagged, saying that I spread too much misinformation. It was just from a picture. Had nothing to do with COVID, nothing to do with vaccines, just a thank you on that picture of me. So like I said, all they were doing was, because I was ready to give up. And I felt, if you're censoring me this much, I must be a thorn in your side. I must be upsetting you some way for telling the truth. So all they did was refuel my fire. They made me want, you know what, you're going to try to silence me? Oh, I'm so sorry. You're not going to silence me now, especially now. So I just kept going forward. I mean, yes, I mean, along the way, I lost all my friends. You know, I belong to a bunch of biker groups. I know a lot of people, biker in the biker community, me and my son, and them doing this to me actually scared these so-called bikers. These big bad bikers scared them because I was getting too much attention from the government. Which, like I said, you know, it's good. Yeah, it's fine with me because this is my fight. It's not their fight. You know, so like I said, the more they censor me, the more, you know, the more power they give me. That's why I say you're just giving me more ammo to fight back, and I no longer have fear. You know, everyone else has fear of dying, or you know, the government can make something happen to you. Well, so be it. You know, I mean, they'll just prove my point. You know, I'm not lying about anything. Everything I tell, it's the truth. And not just about me and my son, about my vaccine injured family also. So, you know, all you're doing is building me up and strengthening me to be a harder fighter in this process. So now, excuse me, Casey knows last week I was knocked off of YouTube. They canceled my YouTube channel because I posted some stuff on there, and I said, you know, I had people attacking them, and next thing you know, they gave me my channel back. So I said, okay, whatever. You know, I mean, it's not like it's not going to stop my world if they take it away. But then they gave it back to me. Then that following evening, they took it away again, and you know, they asked me to respond, and I said yes. I mean, all you're doing, I said, all you're doing is giving me more power. You're giving me more publicity for censoring me, and I told them thank you. You know, I didn't say nothing bad, nothing disrespectful. I actually thanked them for doing this because, you know, it's my followers are the ones that attacked them. You know, how could you do this? You know, they weren't out of hand, but they would, you know, comment. And then the next morning when I woke up, I got an email saying, "We're mistaken. Your videos didn't go against our regulations, so we're giving you back your channel." I mean, it's just an ongoing thing, on and off. So, like, so I'm just waiting for the next time they do it. You know, because like I said, I have so many dedicated followers and supporters that it doesn't matter to me. I mean, one way or another, they're going to contact me and they'll speak my piece for me. So, I mean, I'm going to continue, you know. So I'm waiting for the next time they try to attack me or censor me one way or another.
Well, God bless you, Ernest, for what you're doing, and my sincere condolences to what happened to your son. And you know, keep the fight up. We need more people like you. Unfortunately, this mess is not going to go away. So, Casey, let's get back to this lawsuit. I see a lot of censorship by big tech. Where does President Biden and his administration fit into this lawsuit?
That's a really good question. I think most of my friends and family who hear about this lawsuit, that's like the first question that they always ask. And naturally, you would think the obvious parties to go after would be the social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter. But from what we've seen, I don't know if you're familiar with this case. It's a case that was filed maybe a year before ours. It's called Missouri v. Biden.
Yes.
Yeah. So that case, they reached the discovery level or stage of litigation, which means they can ask the government entities, the agencies for information, you know, emails, reports. So they had to provide thousands and thousands of pages of documents, and many of those are emails and documentation of meetings and just hundreds, if not thousands, of meetings and calls between the federal government agencies and officials that are listed as defendants in our lawsuit and all the social media platforms. And these emails are frequently from the government saying, you need to impose more censorship. This kind of speech we don't want on there. We don't want to see this. And frequently it's vaccine related kind of speech. And specifically, they would target even the private support groups that Susanna was describing before. You know, you have vaccine injured people that are privately trying to seek support for and provide support to one another. And you know, they discuss that the government officials even target that kind of speech. And all of it's protected, but it's especially egregious and just shocking to see that they can't even allow people to speak in private. And people have been really seriously injured and are just trying to get through probably one of the worst, most difficult times of their lives. So we've seen a lot of that. And that's kind of like the driving force of this lawsuit.
I was aware of Biden, Missouri versus Biden from Jay Bhattacharya and Aaron Chiardi, but I was not aware of the contents of discovery because that's not public. That's just between the parties. But I believe I've heard that that's where the White House linked into this censorship stuff. So
yeah. If you look at the briefs, especially in our complaint is especially long. It's 124 pages, and usually they're not that long. But the reason it's so lengthy is because we could draw from so much of that discovery material. Yeah, exactly. But then so many emails to quote, and especially the reason, actually, I know you mentioned before Rob Flaherty being the first name mentioned on the list of defendants. And the reason we put him first is of that thick complaint you just showed, a lot of it is him, the senior White House official, advisor to Biden. And he's the one who you see just direct, really aggressive pressure and demands of more censorship, especially of vaccine injured kind of speech. So
yeah, I've gone in and I've actually read the complaint twice now. I tagged it in a few things because it's very interesting to me. And I'm going to be an interested party to follow along from there. Now, my understanding there's another lawsuit that's filed. I think Children's Health Defense filed one back in March of this year. Censorship from the White House, and et al. Is that similar to yours? I have not read that complaint.
I honestly haven't read that complaint either. I've thought from what I've just read from the article, from skimming articles, that it was more based on the vaccine and the science of it rather than so focused on the censorship being imposed by the federal government. I could be incorrect about that because I haven't read the complaint. But now I'm going to jot that down because I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, I'd like to find out. So, okay, we've had this. I guess this called this disinformation dozen, where big tech went after 12 different individuals. It's now probably been expanded to at least a baker's dozen, if not 2 dozen. And I would put, Susanna and Ernst groups together. Do you, Susanna and Ernst, do you feel that you're what you're putting out there now, are you being tagged at all, or are you kind of withdrawn from doing things like this because you are already either shadow banned, or whatever? Are you continuing to try to work doing some communication, or are you being prevented from communicating with other COVID vaccine injured people?
I can start with that, just saying I'm thankful for Ernest and his perseverance, because I personally, after having to speak in code and, having been maybe a little ostracized from a lot of groups, I just kind of stopped. I just got tired of speaking in code and trying to share my truth on my own Facebook channel. And I just kind of gave up a little bit. I know that's terrible to say in a sense. I think I moved from, I would say, social media to in real life with Minnesota Team Humanity, and just trying to build out the community here locally where we can come together in person. I do have the Minnesota Team Humanity Facebook group still, and again, that's been tagged a bunch of times. And I guess, I feel I'm already beaten down from how my body feels and from the injury, and it's been 2 years. So I feel like I'm a little more guarded about where I use my energy, and it's not social media anymore. When I've been treated like a criminal, I've just kind of exited a lot of that. I still do a little. Actually, ironically, one of the things that got censored right away a year ago or so was that my kindness video. It was literally a YouTube video entitled kindness. And it was Charlotte from the UK, COVID vax injury family, and me talking about to each other, just like a fireside chat about our experiences. And that got taken down and until they appealed it, and then it finally went back up. But how ridiculous is that? It's literally like YouTube killing kindness. I swear we barely talked anything about vaccine. Everything was our own individual experience and how we were suffering and how we were struggling, how similar it was. So I just had another YouTube. So I'm still doing like podcasts and things with people, and like I did a YouTube video with her. I don't think it's up yet, but it'll be interesting to see if they take it down, because I think it was titled censorship this time, which is a little more of a flag than kindness. I think that the whole the channel was with the UK vax injured family, and so they were just like tagging everything from that group, maybe, because I don't know how kindness hit their trigger to take us down.
I remember the interview that you and I did together with Dr. Elizabeth Valite. I had that up on YouTube. I had like 30 or 40 different podcast episodes up there, and they deleted every one of them, and I'm permanently banned.
Was that after ours? Like, I wonder if I was your flag of getting, I'm sorry.
Dr. Gert Vanderbosch was my flag.
Okay.
And but I also had some book reviews of non-vaccine, non-medical. I just did a couple book reviews. One was a historical book review of what happened to the Polish Jews back in the early 40s. I have a friend of mine who wrote a book about it, so I just did a book review, and that was taken down too. I mean, they target the individual and then they wipe it all out. So gladly, I believe Ernest is doing it, and a few others. We moved over to Rumble, and there's no censorship there. Well, I believe that's a Canadian company. Ernest, tell us, you keep running into these walls and then you turn around and find a way through it, and you keep busting down these brick walls. So where are you on your videos? Are you out on Rumble, or where do people find you?
Yes, I do have videos on Rumble. I have quite a few of them on YouTube. They can search for me on YouTube. I just posted the Unseen Crisis. I thought they were going to block me with that one, but it's still up. They haven't censored me on that one either. So, like I said, I'm pushing it to the edge. That's the way I'm doing it. I don't care what they try to do to me. I'm going to post as much as I can. I posted Dr. Peter McCullough's last speech on there also. So, like I said, I have my platforms on Facebook. I share everything on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. So, people are more than welcome to, follow me, share my information. I get a lot of people asking if they can. You don't have to ask permission. I have it out there for a reason. I need it to reach the end of the world, because I want my son's name to go down in history. He didn't die for nothing. This is for a purpose, not just for my son, but for all the injured. Because, I don't know if you seen a trailer. I'm dragging that trailer everywhere I go around the U.S. That to get the attention. When I was on my way back from the red carpet of the Great Awakening, I had a truck pull up next to me, and he asked me, "Can we talk about your trailer?" I said, "Of course." He goes, "I just got out of flight school." He said they were forced to be vaccinated. He was concerned about his best friend that was having chest pains, and the doctor said there was nothing wrong with them. They wouldn't diagnose him with anything. And I said, "I'm not a doctor, but I know what the injured go through." And then I tried to connect him with React 19. I gave him my card. I said, if your friend needs to speak to someone, he can call me 24/7. I always answer my phone. I could see the concern in his face. because his buddy was having so much problems with chest pains. And I just don't want the guy to call me and tell me something happened to him. That's why I tell everyone, all my information's out there. Anyone that ever wants to call me, if the most I can do is guide you in the right direction or offer you a shoulder to lean on. So that's what I'm here. I feel that's the least I can do to honor my son. But, excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Ernest. You can gather yourself. Counselor, what's going to happen next, or what's the next steps? Yes, we've got an August 21st meeting. Is there? Will you allow other plaintiffs to join in, or is this sit for the group? You anticipate motions to dismiss? We know that's going to happen. Then you're going to reply back, and then hopefully survive that, in which I think you should be able to prevail. What else are you seeing going forward with this case?
So I don't want to give away too much strategy, and nothing, right. It's early stages, so nothing is decided yet. At this point, we're not looking to add on any more plaintiffs. There's always a possibility of amending complaints multiple times. So I won't rule out any possibility, but with these 6 plaintiffs right now, we're not asking for relief just as applied to them. We're asking for generally this censorship misconduct to stop. So the aim is really to have this ruling to affect all people who have been vaccine injured and who are experiencing this kind of censorship on social media. So we're going to have to see how the judge treats that. He could always decide he wants to apply it just to the 6 individuals, and that, that's going to change our direction in the case. But as of now, we're looking, I think, pretty steady where we are. But a lot's going to depend on what happens, both with the judge and the defendants.
Okay. Before or pre-COVID, I'm trying to think of any type of a lawsuit against the White House and a presidential administration for this widespread of censorship. Has there ever existed something like that you know of pre-COVID?
I mean, the thing that sticks out to me is maybe the era of McCarthyism. But I don't think, it seems to me that if this kind of censorship has been going on for years and years, which it seems quite possible at this point, I don't think people knew about it. I mean, the way when you're reading through Missouri v. Biden or our complaint and seeing the kinds of things that are being said in these emails, I at least have the impression that these officials don't believe this is ever going to be seen by anyone. I don't think they thought that any lawsuit would actually reach the discovery stage, and that they'd have to produce this kind of communication. And that makes me think that this may have been going on for a while, and just nobody was able to make it far enough to expose what's been going on. But if you look at the Missouri v. Biden case, some of that stretches back to at least 2016. I think once the Trump administration and the election happens, that's when you start seeing some of these censorship activities going on social media platforms. And that being said, too, social media, I guess, hasn't been around that long either, at least, to the popular levels that it's at right now, with billions of people using it. So I guess it's a pretty recent phenomenon, at least this form of censorship.
Well, I'm aware of a couple but they were like journalists being attacked by the White House. Cheryl Atkinson during the Obama administration, and a few others, New York Times, Washington Post reporters during the Bush 43 administration, but never in the scope of what we're seeing now. And this is really, really concerning. So this is very important that we advance this. With that in mind, where can people help? Are you accepting donations, or what? We need to keep the plaintiffs going too. They're hurting, they're in pain. A lot of them have lost their jobs. We need to help them too. And I'll get to where we can help donate for them. But first off, for the legal defense fund, if you will, where can people go to find more information and then help out monetarily?
Well, if you go to my firm's or my legal group's website, it's called New Civil Liberties Alliance, or NCLA, I think ncla.legal. But if you Google it, you can get information on the case there. We try to keep up to date with all the filings, the briefs, and a short, description of what the case is. And if you want to donate, the link is there too. I think another way to help is just kind of promoting on Facebook, face-to-face conversations, social media, just what's happening. I think there just hasn't been much awareness about this kind of censorship, and mainstream media is very resistant to talking about it. And so I think the more people talk about it and actually feel comfortable talking about it and don't feel as though they're going to be disowned by their friends or silenced, or, that kind of thing. I think the more the word spreads, the more support all of us are going to have in the future on this kind of issue, because it's just been so chilled for so long. I think people are finally realizing, they can talk about it and there aren't going to be severe repercussions.
Very good. Susanna, kind of like the last word here. There's so many that have been injured. A lot of us been in this vaccine injury, community for 20, 25 years, myself, what happened to my son 24 years ago. But it wasn't until COVID that it started affecting adults, and adults were mandated to take the vaccines and whatever else happened. And there's just thousands and thousands of people who have been injured. They were doing the right thing. They said they were going to take the vaccine because they were told it'll help stop the virus. We now know that was a lie. But where can people help out? I know that there's a couple groups, React 19, Real Not Rare, and a few others that are trying to take donations to help those who have been injured. Is there a place where people can go, or multiple places to go to help out?
Yeah, react19.org has a care fund that is open to those who are injured, and they can apply to try and get some relief on their medical bills, because as of at this point, there is no safety net. And I think that was another shocking part for me. After having been injured, I thought, I'm probably rare, but there's got to be a system or a process to kind of scoop me up and support me, and then research me so this doesn't happen to other people. And we're still not there yet in this country. But React 19 is definitely working on not just building a community, but science-based research about those who are injured is a good first place for those who are injured to stop. And then anybody who wants to support financially to go and donate there.
Ernest, I'm fascinated by this trailer. I have seen it. And your efforts. Do you have some ongoing other places where people may want to donate to your cause? Because you're out there traveling around on your own nickel. So is there a place for you to help donate other than to like React 19's medical
yes,
fund?
I want to add to Suzanne. They can also text the word REACT, REACT, to 50155. They can go directly to donate to the vaccine injured. All they have to do is text the word REACT to 50155. And to help me financially to continue traveling, I do have an event that I'm planning. I've been planning for over a year and a half for the vaccine injured. 100% of the proceeds are going to the vaccine injured in Conroe, Texas, July 22nd. We have a lot of lineup of speakers and doctors there that's going to be there. Also, after that, I will be in Gainesville, Florida, with Dr. Biss and Heather Hudson. They're having an event there. Dr. Biss helped me donated some money so I can wrap the trailer. So I will be taking the trailer across the U.S. And then in September, I will be in Dallas, Texas, hopefully, with Dr. Henry Ely, who also asked me to be up there, who also donated to help me with the trailer. Mm-hmm. If anyone wants to financially help me, they can easily go to my life funder, Justice for Ernesto. And I also have his website, Junior's Guardian Voice, jrsguardianvoice.com. There's also Give, Send, Go on there. And I have an application for anyone that's vaccine injured, grieving families. I'm trying to do as much as I can with what little I have. I need to reach out to anyone. I want them to know that they're not alone. They have family here. We are here to help each other. I also do a Twitter space every Monday for my vaccine injured. Just had a couple extra people jump in. They were searching. They didn't know who to contact, who to communicate with. They fell across my Twitter space. They thanked me because now they know that they have somebody to reach out to. They have somebody that will communicate with them on the same level. So like I said, I'm trying to do as much as I can. I don't know what more I can do. I need to get out there more. I actually feel like standing on top of the mountain and just yelling out, hoping people will hear me, because I don't want any more phone calls. I don't want any more text messages. I don't want to hear the words, "I'm sorry, I should have listened." I want them to listen now before it happens to you or yours, because we need to protect one another. I mean, the good Lord put us here for that purpose, to take care of each other. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to protect as many as I can.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. For all the listeners, I'm putting up when the video is released, I have all the websites. I'll be putting it up there, plus instructions on where to go for donations and links and stuff like that. So then people can come back and use it as a resource if they want to find out things. So very well. Thank you very much for sharing all those places to donate. It's very important. People need to look at this and help out. We've been watching and listening to the Right on Point podcast, everyone. We've had a great discussion here. The program is a candid discussion of your civil liberties, issues, and your legal rights with your government. We discuss what no one else will by digging deep into the vaccine injury compensation programs, the countermeasures injury compensation programs, the PrEP Act, legalities of the COVID pandemic, and what is happening in our global community. I want to thank my guests today, Susanna Newell, Ernest Ramirez, and their attorney, Casey Norman. I really, really appreciate your contributions. Ben Smith with Backwoods Media is my video editor. He's got a lot of work to do here. Thank you to the many viewers and listeners of this program. And as I leave you each week with the following: keep learning, keep challenging yourself, and always, always question authority. Have a good day, everyone.